Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on astrology and a Facebook page on prophetic writings, which you find in the description box below. There are certain individuals who are using my identity, stealing my identity, and use it to do harm onto me, onto others. They're impersonating me, and they have done fraudulous activity. There is law enforcement investigation on them. I already made complaints, official declarations, and authorities are involved in investigating them for frauds created against me and in my name. So please be cautious. Don't interact with them in the comment section. Okay, now for this video, God has guided me to talk about a topic for a few hours actually, but I was just too sleepy when I woke up and God told me to talk about this. So I took some time to think about it because on one hand, it didn't seem to me so relevant to the spiritual fighting. Then God showed me how it's relevant. So I finally understood what He wants me to talk about. So God showed me issues related to my previous activity in my previous career, where I encountered certain faults of character and insecurities, issues. While I was dealing with people, basically managing teams. And there were many ways in which people behaved inappropriately, and they were affecting the outcome of the project. And I must say that for this, some of these reasons, there were circumstances in which I actually asked individuals to leave the team because they were creating too much harm to the project, and it was just too much conflict in the team because of them and because of this behavior that they had. So I know exactly what type of behavior God is referring to because I dealt with it in my life as manager of the team. And I will give you a few examples. There are the people who actually, for example, you ask them, I would ask them, okay, I need to establish tasks for everybody in the team. For this reason, I will establish the type of tasks necessary to be achieved in order for the project to move along with deadlines and so on. And I want you to be honest and to tell me, do you know how to do this task or not? They would lie, basically. They would say, yes, I know, I can do it, but they had no clue to do it. Now, of course, initially, you start with the presumption that this individual is honest with you, particularly since you are the manager of the team. So you have the power, you know. And also because logically, I always had this frustration with them, and I said, why you lied to me? The task needed to be achieved by this deadline. You knew that sooner or later I will figure out you don't know how to do it. But I will figure out at the time when the task was not achieved. Therefore, you get me angry because in front of my superiors, I become responsible for not achieving it, while it is not my fault. It is your fault because you lied to me. So why you lied to me? Why you put me in this situation where I feel I need to punish you? Because I was never the kind of leader that when something went wrong to blame people that worked in my team. I would always assume responsibility for the project because I believe as a leader you have to assume responsibility for both success and failure. Even if it's not your personal fault and somebody else made a mistake, it's always a matter of management. If you were a good manager, you had to fix it. So I would never, if somebody was complaining about the result, I will never point the finger at who was at fault. I would assume the responsibility, but then I would reserve the right to deal with that individual because it was his fault, not mine. You know, many times in my projects, many times, I would see that actually they don't have any clue to do it, and I would do it myself. I would just say, I'm too angry at you, move aside from here, I will do it. Just to make sure that it's done properly and fast so I can move along with the project, not to get stuck too long. So this is one thing. People lying, which is really not mature thing to do, I repeat, because sooner or later I'm going to figure out that you lied. And what do you think is going to happen then if you created damage? But if you would have told me from the beginning, I would have spent an afternoon with you and I would have taught you how to do it. Yeah. Anyhow, so this is one thing. Another thing was there are many circumstances which I hope to remember all of them now. Another thing was when they would make a mistake and they will cover it up so I will not see it. And I would say, was this task achieved? And they would say, yes, it's perfect, everything is okay. And actually nothing was done there, basically. Don't worry about it, it's everything under my control. I tell you, after a few projects, I learned when somebody tells you it's everything under control, then you should be suspicious, because at no point in time is ever everything under control. And actually, even from early on in my projects, I would tell everyone, nobody is allowed to tell me this. Everything is under control. You report to me what you did, and I will decide if you have control or not. Because many times it proved to me that everyone who says everything is under control, they were literally lying, and they didn't do any of that which they were supposed to do, you know. And if you trust them, you don't check on them, and then when the project moves along, it gets stuck because of them, you know. Now I have to mention to you that the projects I was involved were related to my profession, hence were type of projects or events with international coverage, where you would have international partners, other countries, other MFAs that will take part. So it was not like it was between me, him, and my boss. It was something of a big scale with big implications, because it's one thing when it's something just among us, and it's another thing when it's a project where other countries are involved, and basically the issue becomes much bigger. For example, if it's an event and you have international delegations coming and they ask you to make reservations at the hotel and you don't make, those individuals arrive in the country, have nowhere to go, which is a big problem, you know. Anyhow, I gave you just one example so you'll understand. It was not something small and petty, and it didn't really matter. The type of the projects that I was involved were projects of great importance and large scale with international partners. So it was very important that everything was done properly in time, because you will not have a failure just among Romanian government officials. You will have a failure with international officials participating, and this is really a problem. Yeah. Okay. So lying, basically just lying, and I was very frustrated. I was like, why can't you say I don't know how to do this, or I have a problem in achieving this? Because I had many fights with them this way, because they said, you know, I didn't want to tell you because I called the hotel, and then somebody promised me, but they didn't achieve. I didn't know how to check on them. And they said, I always told you, pertaining job, at any point in time, everybody can call me and tell me when they have problems. I know personally the owner of the hotel. I could have called the owner to ask for help and to ask the owner to oversee the task. But I don't interfere over the people working on my team, because it's normal to respect their activity and to give them freedom to achieve their tasks. It's not normal to start from the beginning with suspicions and to believe that you're not capable, that you're lying, that you're evil person doing harm into my project. Yeah. So if I asked you clearly, can you do this? Have you done this? And you keep saying, yes, everything is okay. Yes, everything is okay. Then of course I will believe you, but then you have a huge problem with me if it proves that it was a lie. Yeah. Because it was very easy to be honest, and I could have covered it. I could have done it myself. We could assign somebody from the team to help you with it. We could have dealt with the problem if you are honest in time and you tell. But if you hide it and you just brag about it. We had staff meetings almost daily with reports on how much progress was achieved on the progress, and they would keep hiding the truth. They would keep lying constantly, so it was very odd to me. I must say this: I learned, I didn't get to succeed to change people to not do this, but I learned different methods of checking on them to make sure that they're not lying on me. I would give assignments, and then I would schedule the arrival of, for example, if it was a reception, I would schedule the reception 30 minutes later, so I will have half an hour before to inspect the location and to make sure personally. This was not part of my job. I was not paid to do this. Normally, as a manager, I should have stayed in my office, made staff meetings, and coordinate the activity. But I had to actually check on everything personally because they were just lying. And it was very odd to me. And for example, I even in the staff meeting, when we would be talking about doing something, I would say honestly, I don't know how to do this, but I would be willing to acknowledge it publicly, and I would be willing to call someone who knows and to invite them in the team to teach us how to do that thing, because it was maybe something that wasn't done in MFA before, was something innovative, and I would have a private company hired to come and teach us how to do that thing, because we didn't have that in the usual diplomatic practice before, especially as technological advance appeared and so on. So I always was puzzled, and I said, and I even had some of the people in my team are saying, when I was saying, I don't know how to do this, they would say, why you say this, because this and this will gossip about you. And I said, the fact of the matter is that at some point I made peace with this reality, learning that people are lying for different reasons, and you cannot trust them. You have to check on them in order to have a good outcome. Especially, there was never enough time to do this on a long period of time. There was always a very tight deadline, and all of us had multiple projects to be involved in. So it was not pleasant to waste time on that, on checking on them, because normally, honestly speaking, normally I was entitled to fire them. I could have followed a procedure in which I would have stated, you're allowed this many mistakes. If you made that mistake, then I will fire you. But I also didn't want to harm them. I just wanted my project to go well. I never gave a bad recommendation for them, if they, even if I made them leave the team because they were just incompetent and they were just wasting time and not doing anything, and just lying about what they were supposed to do. I never gave bad recommendations on particular, or making a point in following that individual in the next task wherever he went to work, because I figured, always, you don't know what's going on with that individual. You don't know what's happening in their life. You don't know what problems they have at home. So I also know that there are many other places in which they can work without dealing with such high-level responsibility. And I told them, maybe you are not prepared to work at such a high-level standard. Tell me, because if you just want to work on a project, I can help you to get in another team at another level where it is not so much pressure on providing a very perfect outcome, because it's not such a high-level event, So there you can afford to make mistakes, because it's just among us in MFA. Nobody sees you. But this project is high level. This is important. I'm not fucking kidding with this. But still they would lie. They just wanted to be involved in high level, but they were not prepared to deal with that. And they were not willing to acknowledge the level of their abilities, knowledge, and so on, or to ask for help. And this is, again, I never followed them to do harm to them, because I knew they could have done better in a different circumstance, in a different location, with a different project and with a different manager who maybe also, I knew many colleagues of mine, managers of projects who actually were not really demanding and didn't care what kind of outcome they provide. They just want to get a salary and they didn't care for their projects, and very superficial people. And I was like, I can talk to my colleague from the other department. You can work in his team, because in my mind, I was like, he's not going to give a fuck anyhow. So you can work together. So you, both of you, don't give a fuck together. But in my team, I told you from the beginning, the outcome of the project will be perfect as possible in the circumstances given and with the budget we have. Yeah. Anyhow, now, slowly I learned that you cannot trust people. I learned they are lying, they are hiding. I learned that some of them really were hiding the truth and lying because they wanted to be part of the project and because they wanted to be involved with high level officials, which was happening in my project. But they were not willing to learn. You see, that was my puzzlement. They were not willing to learn what to do in order to be in these teams, but they were using being part of the team to go around among other people in the ministry and just brag about, okay, you see, I'm working with Dana, I'm working on this NATO summit, I'm this important person. But all this time that they were wasting to go among the institution to brag, they were not doing their job on the project. Do you see my point? I was like, I was so puzzled many times. I was like, how did you have time to stay 2 hours in this department to brag and gossip with those people, but you didn't have time to make the phone calls which I asked you to check on this, that it will be delivered on time? And I was like, I don't understand. So God was showing me at the time, because many times I was just trying to understand. I was also very upset and frustrated, but also I was like, I just feel like I'm losing my mind. Why is this happening? Why they do this? And God was showing to me gradually about each circumstance. I learned the higher perspective over things, and I learned to literally detach from the situation and from the individual, cut them off, push them out of my team, bring somebody else, or many times if it was too late, just do it myself. I prefer to stay 2 nights and 2 days on a task which was supposed to achieve by somebody else in a month than to have to deal with somebody else who was coming only to lie, to go around the institution and brag and gossip, to create scandals and so on, and to not produce outcome. So it was, and God has shown to me, and this is where we need to get with the discussion, because God is showing to me that many people are failing in spiritual fighting and in evolving spiritually because of this type of faults of character, namely unwillingness to acknowledge when they don't know something. So because God showed me, because I didn't want to talk about all of this, but God showed me, but this is important, because of course it's a psychological dimension which you learned early on in dealing with other people, and you learned why. I showed you why they do this, so you know to explain to them how to overcome this problem. You guys, these are my dogs. I gave them food and now they are just arguing with each other. They're very dominating, and they each of them wants to have the bigger size of food. Okay, but it's everything fine. Plus, there are a lot of sorcery attacks in my courtyard. So because of this, there's a conflict and chaos magic which is sent to my house and to my property constantly. So I apologize for the background noise. I just wanted to make sure that I feed them before I make the video. Okay, so God asked me, because you took the time to understand these faults of character, now this is a good time for you to share this information, because this will help people understand what are the consequences. Because they don't learn because of this. God has shown to me at the time that some individuals Again, they wanted shallow fame. They didn't care for the project. They didn't care. They only wanted to be among high-level officials. My project was offering that opportunity. But they were not willing or interested to evolve, to be to informed, to know how to do things, and to be good professionally, or they didn't even care what was the outcome of the project. Literally, and I couldn't believe this when God was showing this to me, and I watched them literally during events, and indeed for them, let me describe this. This was madness when I learned this about people. I was watching them because God said, they just want shallow fame. They just want to be in the presence of high officials. This is why he came to your team, but he's not interested to work. This is his problem. But this is what's the reason behind it. And I would watch them during the event. Literally, that individual was mesmerized when he was among high-level officials. Basically, was like floating in the air. I would talk to him, excuse me, you're here for a job, you're supposed to do this. At that point in time was like I surprised him when I told him, like he didn't know he was there for a job, like he thought he's there only to admire, to breathe the same air as high officials. I'm telling you, they were like hypnotized. They were like floating on air and just watching and listening to those individuals. And I'm like, excuse me, this is not why you came here. You're not an observer. You're here to do this and this. Did you go do this and that? No. And they literally were like being woken up from a dream, and like, yeah, I will go now. Yeah, but what did you do so many hours so far? Literally, this is because the obsession with shallow fame comes from darkness. Yeah, it's done by darkness. Some sort of obsession with high-level positions, and many times I was puzzled because I was like, yeah, but you see the individual. Many of these politicians are really stupid, honestly. If you don't give a discourse to them, a speech to them written by professionals, he really doesn't know to say anything smart. And some of them have very ugly character. They are only in that position only to show off. They literally don't give a fuck about the event, about the project, about anything. And so, but they couldn't see beyond this. They said, this one is the minister, this one is prime minister. And I was like, yeah, but look at him. Why you get stuck so much on the official position? Don't you see the individual? He's stupid as fuck. Why you admire him? Or some of them will be extremely rude. And that was a shock which I had very early on in my career. Extremely rude, and they felt entitled. And I was like, always like, excuse me, you're just, doesn't matter what is your level of position. You're just one other, how you say this in English? Staff, we say funcționar. So you're just one other working person in a government position. Temporarily, you have been assigned in a high-level position. But this is temporarily, wake up. This is not who you are. This is a position which you take on temporarily because you've been assigned to this. If we delve into it, you've been assigned to this because of corruption and not because of your merits. And because you kissed ass, and now I learned you've been part in convents and masonry, and this is why they put you in that position. Yeah? So you're not God. Wake up. Yeah? And while you are in this position, you also have responsibilities to achieve certain things. And it's always a puzzlement to me how you don't give a fuck about responsibilities and you don't care to achieve anything. You just do exactly like this one. Just feel entitled to be some sort of deity on earth. Anyhow, this is, so God has shown to me that many individuals really desire to be, for example, to apply to this situation, because it took me a long time for God to explain to me how this applies to spirituality, so I'll understand what to talk about this. And God has shown to me that many individuals entered into these convents and organizations, ritualic and religious spiritual practices, in order to be part of these groups, because of shallow fame, because they wanted to be part of a convent, because they wanted to have power, some of them, because some of them wanted to have fame, because they wanted to be promoted, and they knew that they would get a higher level promotion if they would be part of these convents. You see, all of these faults of character lead to very bad decisions. You can desire, and it's acceptable that you desire to be in a high level position. But you can reach there professionally, working, being recognized as a value, as producing outcome in your profession. You don't have to accept anything just to be there and to do harm unto others. And this is how God showed me many people got themselves into trouble, because they have another issue is the other one which I explained in the initial beginning. I said people lie about knowing or not knowing something, and I said, I asked you if you know to do this, and you said yes. Why you said yes? You should have said no, and I would have taught you how to do it, or I would have made sure that somebody comes to help you. And also, this was something also that I couldn't grasp and understand in the beginning. Oh my God. Do you see? I have two girls who fight among themselves, and their sisters, the dogs, outside, who are fighting over the food. And one of them, I'm telling you, it's like this ones. One of them finishes eating and still wouldn't let the other one to eat just because she wants to be the boss. It's very telling, actually, if you watch dogs, it's very telling of human behavior. Okay, so regarding when people refuse to acknowledge the limits of their expertise, I always ask God, I said, why they lie? Why they didn't tell me? Because they created so much problem for me now. And God would show me that literally is insecurities of their own. And I learned this throughout my career, because I said to you, in situations where we were talking about things which we didn't normally do in MFA, there were tasks which basically you had to learn from somewhere. Yeah. I would say I don't know how to do this. And personally, even for example, when I was assigned in Washington, D.C., I took classes at Georgetown University of protocol and etiquette. I bought books. I met and I actually called different counterparts from other embassies and even from the White House and from the State Department. I invited them to lunch, and I would say, I'm supposed to prepare this and this and this. I don't know how to do this. How do you do this? Can I learn? So I learned a lot from the American protocol, from them, which was very different from the European protocol, and especially from that which was practiced in Romanian MFA. I never had this problem to say that I don't know something and to learn how it's done, But then when I said, I know how to do this, I can do this, you will be sure that I will provide the highest level outcome and perfectly developed. If I have any doubt I can do something, I will make sure that I will learn how to do it. Yeah, because I care for the outcome. I don't just care to be manager of the team. Actually, I didn't even like to be manager of the team because I had to deal with all of this. So God has shown to me that it's a matter of insecurity. Namely that basically that individual didn't know much at all. And when you don't know much at all, you don't know anything actually, you have a problem, ego and insecurity problem of acknowledging that you don't know how to do certain things, But God has shown to me, yes, I said I had never had a problem to say I don't know something, why they cannot do the same. And God has shown me, because You worked to get prepared, and you already have achieved so much, and you have proved yourself to yourself and to others. You already have a reputation which is not based on gossip and kissing ass. You have a professional reputation based on the results of your work. And because of this, you have the confidence of saying, I don't know how to do this task, because it's a small task and you have already achieved certain events which are already much higher level and demand much more from you. So you proved yourself to yourself first. You know about yourself that you can. So it's not an ego matter for you to say that you don't know to do something small, because you already have a lot to prove what you have done. So for this reason, you're confident in saying this. But they are not confident. And I kept asking God, yeah, but the issue is they also are not willing to learn. Because I don't have an issue if you're not telling me the truth. If you will prepare, go home, learn how to do it, and deliver the outcome. This is what I care. You deliver the outcome. But then if you don't deliver the outcome, I'm going to start investigating why not. Why you didn't deliver? What was the problem? And if I learn that it's only because you lied and you didn't put the effort in, first you lied that you know, then you didn't even make the effort to learn from someone how to do it, and then you didn't even care that I will find out and I will punish you, then I just, of course, consider this as it would be done on purpose to undermine my project and my authority. Yeah. And so God has shown to me that these characters, these faults of characters, actually lack of responsibility, unwillingness to assume responsibility, and lying about it is part of the reason why many people don't do redemption. Basically, this is how God convinced me to talk about this issue. He said, this is why some people don't do redemption. Because even though everything is proved, they still lie. I didn't do this. Or I did this only because this one made me do it. I didn't want to do it. You know? So God says, we in divine realm judge them and we know it's a lie. But in order to get them to do redemption, they need, first of all, to deal with this, because this is not only pertaining this singular situation for which they are under judgment. This is part of how they behave, and they need to learn to overcome this. They need to learn to assume the responsibility of the harm they have done. They need to learn to come clean and just literally just say, okay, I did this, I did it because of this, and because I wanted fame and I didn't care how much I harmed somebody, because for different reasons. Everyone has different reasons. Because I was envious and jealous on that one, and I wanted to harm them for no reason. Because usually also envy and jealousy, this is a result of darkness attachment on you. I can give you many examples of individuals who were envious and jealous on me with no reason whatsoever. With no reason whatsoever. Really, truly. Because the envy eats out of your heart and soul chakra so much that it disturbs your clarity of thinking. And you just project ideas onto the other one, and you assume that the other one is doing so much better, has so much more than you. Everything is better in the grass is greener on the other side, it's so much envy in you, which is not legitimate, literally. And this, I never ever was ever jealous or envious on somebody else. This is also because I had so many people envying me, particularly when I was in high level positions. And they would actually, some of them would tell me to my face. They would come to me and say, I envy you so much for doing this, for being in this position, for doing this project, for doing this, for doing that. And I usually didn't answer to this. I was just smiling and just keep a distance from that individual. But in my mind, I was like, I don't understand why they envy me. It was not my choice to do this. I was assigned, and it's a lot of work to do in order to do this, to carry on this project. And most of the times, overall, not to get into details, because they were not willing to do as much work as me. As I said, I would work 24 hours a day for very long periods of times. I would just go home, wash, change clothes, go back to work. Literally. I didn't, for many years, I didn't know how the sun looks, because I would get out of my home when it was already dark, still dark outside, to get early at the office a few hours before everyone in order to finish my tasks. And I would leave the office when it was already too dark outside. The individuals who were envying me were not willing to stay later than 4:30 p.m. when it was the end of the program schedule. They wouldn't even work for 1 hour extra time. I was never paid for my extra time in MFA, ever, never. I always did that because there was no way to finish the project in the short deadline I was given. Yeah, or because the budget was too small, I couldn't outsource certain tasks. I had to do them myself in order for the project to move on at the standard which I considered acceptable. Yeah. And this is why I say, so I was talking to God and said, why they envy me? They would never make the effort that I make. Because sometimes some of them would come to me behaving nicely, and saying, I would like so much to be in the same position to do this and that. And I would say, if you really want this, I can help you. If you really want, this is hard work. This is hard work. And it's usually to be in a managerial position, if you do it right, it's very lonely, because you cannot afford to be friendly with people, because they will take advantage of that and they will not listen to you anymore. You cannot fraternize with many people. There will be just very few people with whom you actually can be friends, and they will still do their job appropriately and respect you, not only as human, but also in your position as a boss and so on. And I would help them get the position. But then if I would offer to them the position, they would say, oh, no, but I'm not going to work these long hours. Oh, so then you don't have a reason to envy me at the end of the day. But you still envy me. You see? So this is a problem within you. It's never a reason, a legitimate reason to envy somebody. Literally, there's never a reason to envy somebody. Because literally you don't know what that individual has put up in order to achieve whatever you're envying him for. And most often, usually that are envious and jealous are never willing, or even some of them are never capable to make the same efforts or to provide the same type of expertise. In order to provide high-level expertise, I worked a lot. As I said, I went on my own spare time with my own money to go take classes, specialize in certain fields which were not part of the Romanian MFA curricula and so on, in order to be able to provide that expertise. None of the people who envied me were willing to do that. None of them were willing to invest money in raising up their standard of expertise and the ability to provide outcome. None of them were willing to sacrifice all their spare time in order to work on that project so it will come out at the standard which was provided by me. But still they envied me. So then why you envy me for? Just because of one title, but nothing else. You don't want the work, you don't want anything, you just want the title, So this is what usually happens with the people who are envious. But God showed me, that they have so much darkness in their heart, which borders to hate. Envy and jealousy borders to hate. That literally their thinking is blurred. They enjoy seeing you suffer or fail or being gossiped about just because they hate you, because they envy you for being in a position. So, but this is a problem. Again, all of these issues that I'm bringing up in this video God has shown to me. These people that I have described now in the second part of the video, those with who envy and are jealous and hateful and so on, and enjoy inflicting pain and in your life and creating problems and stealing from you, are the doppelgangers. So God showed me this morning, all of these people that you encountered in your life, in your projects, are actually having the same type of faults of character, which led these other people active in spirituality to do work with darkness to harm others for the same faults of character, basically. But all of these, you must deal with them. These are your problems. This, as I said in other videos, this I don't deal with anybody else's demons. These are your demons. If you're envious and jealous on somebody, sit with yourself, think about it, why you envy that person. Why is it so important to focus on that other person's life? You don't even know what's in that person's life. I personally, for example, I was very sad at the time because I kept saying to God, I don't want to be in MFA. I want to leave this institution. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do my own thing. And everybody knows this from those close to me. My family knows, but they don't support me. My parents, my ex-husband, everybody knew that I want to leave. Even from MFA, those who are close to me, they knew I want to leave MFA. And I don't like to be there. And I was just forced into staying there, always making compromises compromises requested by my ex-husband, actually, to be honest. First time was because we just got married and we needed a house, and we didn't have a house. So then my ex-husband asked me to give up my plans to leave MFA, because working in MFA provided the opportunity to get assignments abroad, and by that you had a higher salary, so we could get money to buy an apartment where to stay. And we did so. I gave up my dreams. I stayed in that MFA in that position, which was much lower ranking than I was entitled to, simply because so we can buy a house. He didn't actually care to assume the responsibility of providing housing for us. He asked me to make the compromise and to sacrifice my career plans in order to achieve this. And we did purchase a house, which he stole from me at the end. So you can see how that was a very poor decision making on my side, right? And actually, when he stole it, when we were divorcing, I actually told him, "What the fuck you mean? You changed the documents of the house on your mother's name, and and now you don't want to even split the house. This is my house. I bought this because I gave up on my dreams for 10 years. What the fuck you mean?" And basically he said, "That's okay, because you're going to stay in MFA, so you're going to raise money more, you're going to buy another house. So then I will keep the house this time," because he changed the documents with his mother to leave my name out and so on. And I was shocked. I'm like, "We're divorcing. What the fuck you mean? You're taking into account income I will make in the future?" So he was envious of me that I will have the opportunity in MFA to go abroad and have more money. So I will come back. And he said, "Then you will buy another house. But then I don't work in MFA, so then I will not have the opportunity." But I asked him at the time, "Do you want to switch? I will help you get hired in MFA, because even where you work, at the company where you work, I gave you that job. So I can help you get hired in MFA. So you will make the sacrifice to have a lower salary as compared to the company where you work. So you will make the sacrifice to buy the house." No, he didn't want this. But then when we divorced, he was envying me for this. He said, "You will purchase a new house. So for this reason, I will keep this house." He made illegal activity to actually change. He took my money, our money, and he gave to his mother, and they changed the documents on her name, so it will appear like it's hers. And then he said, "And also when your parents will die, you will inherit their house, so there you will have somewhere to stay." So do you see how People who envy you have a very weird, twisted way to think about things. We were divorcing, and he was daring to tell me that he is stealing my house by the logic that you will have the opportunities to buy other houses in the future. And I said to him, so what if a car drives me over and I become paralyzed and I don't work anymore and I never get a house abroad or even a job? Do you take that in consideration? How is that we're divorcing and still you're making plans on my future activity, money, and opportunities? How is that normal? I was in shock when I heard him saying this. And actually, while he was saying this, it crystallized in my mind so clear. I'm like, so this is so wrong that I gave you so much time and I didn't divorce you earlier. You're just now showing your face. I said this to myself. You're just now showing your face, basically. And the other argument for which he was envying me was that my parents had a large apartment, and that when they will die, I will have a big apartment inherited from them. Again, a topic which is not concerning you. We are divorcing. How the fuck you're making plans on what I will inherit when my parents will die? My parents will die late, I hope. I'm not going to wish death on people in order to get their house. And also, this is the house they purchased. So how you're making plans, and how would you imagine that? And I actually told him, I said, listen, man, you're not making plans on my future activity or on what my parents will give me and so on. We are talking about a marriage of 13 years and basically the income which was created and goods which were purchased in this income. Do you know the law? This is splitted between the two at least. But I can provide documents that I have been providing all of this. Anyhow, I'm showing you so you'll understand how envy and jealousy can blur your mind up to absurd level of not being capable of making sense. You know, these all are issues with which you must deal. These are your internal problems, and they will create problems for you all your life. You will not be able to have a proper approach to issues. Again, envy, jealousy, and so on. All of these are issues, internal issues. I gave you the example of the across the street woman who's copying me, and this been part of stealing my inheritance and so on here. And God has shown to me, I was like, I never spoke to this woman in my life, ever. Only once we were on the street, actually, and we exchanged 2 words or something like this. But I never spoke to her. I never went to her to say anything. She never even salutes when because normally I would say hello to people in the neighborhood if I see them. I wouldn't enter into discussions, but I would say hello if they say hello as well. And God showed me that she was extremely envious of me, you know. And she said, God showed me that I have a sugar daddy who's supporting me. I had nobody to support me. I was just working and paying everything from my own salary. But I had 2 apartments which I purchased with loans from the bank, which were still ongoing. I sold those apartments in order to pay the credit from the bank, for the mortgage credit from the bank. And I purchased the house here with the what was left from both apartments being sold and covering all bank debt. And this is the outcome of 27 years of work. 27 years of work. And plus some help which I got from an aunt who died and gave me basically the equivalent of her studio in money. But what I mean is, and everything I had was purchased by me from my salary, and I sold the 2 apartment a distance of 2 years. So 2016, I sold first apartment, and it took me 2 years to sell the other apartment. Of course, God showed me later on that it was a blockage which they have done on me. So I will not get income. But in between these two, I didn't have money to actually finish decorating the house or the courtyard or anything. I was stuck because I still was stuck with that apartment which I was trying to sell. So I actually had financial issues at the time that I was dealing with, but I dealt with them, and that was it. There was no reason for the other for a neighbor to, first of all, to start gossip and slander my name that I have a sugar daddy, which was not true, and no man actually entered my house. You didn't even have a reason to believe that, but God showed me she was so eaten up by envy and jealousy, basically, that she was already hating me with no reason whatsoever. I didn't do anything to her, with no reason whatsoever. And she's starting all this campaign of slandering my name and saying lies about, which could be proven very easily that they're lies, you know. So all of this needs to be dealt with by yourself. You will never be able to advance in spirituality if you don't deal with them. Simply because these are darkness attachments. We can talk a long time to understand how you came around to have this. Some of people will say because I didn't have money when I was young. I also went through periods when I didn't have money, particularly when that jerk stole my apartment and I had to start from scratch and buy an apartment with credit at the bank, where basically I had to pay over 90% of my salary was going to the bank. But I didn't hate anyone. I didn't envy anyone. I asked God to make judgment onto this individual and his family for stealing my apartment. So I moved on. I didn't stay stuck into hate, although it was a huge injustice which was done to me. And I am determined to deal with that. This is not a closed issue, because I didn't know all the harm they have done in terms of witchcraft and darkness at me in order to steal that from me. And now I will open that issue again. But what I mean to say is that even if some injustice will happen to you, you don't need to allow for this darkness to attach to you. You need to work with it. You need to overcome it. And you need to, if you're unhappy with jealousy means you're unhappy with what you have. Now, sit with yourself and understand why you are not happy with what you have. What the fuck else you need? Well, if you know what you need more, work for it. There are ways to work and achieve that. Unfortunately, many individuals want things which are not meant for them. Are not meant for them because they didn't reach the proper elevation in order to be entitled to that. So for this reason, they choose to hate you, envy you, jealousy, and then slander your name and steal from you. This is not acceptable for neither sides, for those who do the harm, but also for us who are being harmed. I will not accept, and I already said this, because God has shown to me the spiritual value and connection to this. At the time, I said, you obviously have a very bad character, and I will just keep a distance at you. But then God showed me that these are darkness attachments which they send to you, and they keep feeding on you constantly, and they continue to do that. Yeah. For this reason, personally, I'm reopening all the cases of injustice and of stealing from me, everything that they have done throughout my lifetime, simply because I want to break all the bondages. I want to take everything back, and I want to finish bondage breaking, as I said in a previous video, because I'm not willing that next generation comes and has to deal with these bondages. No, I will make justice for myself, and I will deal with it not only in spiritual realm, but also in 3D. And everyone who stole from me will pay. I will get everything back. This is very important on our side. God has shown to me to speak about this, because this is how you force these individuals into dealing with their problems. Otherwise, it's a vicious circle in which they keep envying and jealousing you regardless how much they have, how much more than you they have. They don't care. Still, they will not, because it's a darkness attachment. They will still envy you. Someone who is evolved spiritually will find happiness being with God even in lack of different things, because we'll learn, and first of all, how to create abundance, and second of all, how to see abundance around him. Yeah, because there can be abundance in anything. You can have a lot of money and sit with Satan, or you can have not so much money but be with God. Which one of the two situations is more abundant for you? So God has shown to me that this is important. Everyone fights for bondage breaking and taking everything back, because this is a contribution you bring to the evolution of the society in forcing these individuals who create darkness to deal with their problems. Otherwise, left on their own, God is literally showing me they are unwilling to acknowledge what they've done. They will say it's not true, even if you prove them with documents what they have done. And if you expose them, then they will say, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't know it's harmful. I didn't see this and that. But I don't, you see? And also, this is very important for the justice system. In order to have a rightful community living in light, you have to have a strong justice system. To have a strong justice system, people need to start making compromises and accept harm being done onto them. People need to start working with the justice system. Because the only way the justice system will receive beneficity is by doing justice for those who have been harmed. That's the only way. Everything that they cover up, all the situations which they do not prosecute and they don't make justice for, they take karma for that. As long as they take karma, their power will be lower and lower and lower and controlled by others. Yeah? So there is no way out, and there will be no future for the human community unless justice system really works and brings divine justice for humans. That's the only way. Otherwise, it will be this kind of madness, savage type of society where they do witchcraft at us, we are fighting to survive, and God comes and delivers karma at divine timing. But that means everybody suffers. The light one suffers going through the fighting and through all these attacks. And also, when karma is delivered, those working with darkness will get to suffer as well. That is not a beneficial society where everybody suffers in order for the divine justice to be done. The beneficial society where you get the fact to learn your lessons, evolve, work with yourself, heal all of these issues that you have in yourself, and be rightful. You fucking know you stole my money, my house, and my inheritance. You know you stole my business, my intellectual property, and you used my name to make a bank credit in order to fund your expenses. There's nothing confused about this. It's very clear that you're in the wrong. Yeah? There's nothing to debate about it. It's very clear that you have done illegal, fraudulent activity. Come clean. No, they send witchcraft. They send love bombing. They send sex magic. They send mirror magic. They send spells. So you will not see clearly. So they will fool you to feel guilty or to feel pity for them. So all the stupid shit to me and to the justice system. They try to dig and create slander on your name to damage your reputation, to convince the justice system not to do justice to you, or that you deserved to be actually attacked by darkness and so on. So this is not a functional society. And I said in a previous video, the dark possibility in the future is that the humankind is a race which will be discarded by Earth if humans do not get this right. Ascension is one last chance which God gives to the humankind. You must understand the value of ascension. Ascension is the last chance God is giving to the humankind before it will get discarded from Earth. Okay? So you people need to get it seriously and really think through what you're doing. And I'm not talking to the jerks who have been stealing and doing this, but now I'm talking to the justice system. Because at this point in time, it's all on you. It's all on you to make divine justice for individuals for whom you know full well that things were stolen, money was stolen, properties were stolen, opportunities, ranks, persecution, and harm was done. It is your job. It's on you to make justice. And you pay a price in what happens next with the humankind. If it will evolve into a 5D community or it will be discarded from Earth.